Freedom. What is freedom? What does it truly mean to be free? Freedom is the right to do as you please to yourself, to be and to say, to believe whatever you wish, unhindered by a government power, unsuspected by a government system. Freedom is the ability to do as you wish without affecting others in a harmful or dishonest manner. Our freedoms are being taken away every day. I use the analogy that every person has the right to be free, to be able to roam about as they wish. And each additional law is like taking an ankle bracelet, attaching chains to it, and tying yourself up to a stump. And each additional law is like taking a link of that chain and cutting out, cutting out, and cutting out, and cutting out, till eventually you're bound to a stump. You're bound to whatever you wish. Now, mind you, if you're sitting pretty up on the hill, if you're sitting pretty up on the hill and you've got all the resources you need around you, that's not necessarily a big deal, because you control everyone else. But no, that's not freedom. What we have now is not freedom. We've been born into a system that is not free. Truly we haven't. Although the ideals have been upheld and seen, but they're starting to be taken away even more and more today. Till eventually we're in a system, in a government, for which we supposedly are fighting. Do any of you really know freedom? If you think back on it, we've been controlled our entire lives. Think about our lives and how we are set up. We're told this is how you live. You go to a hospital. You don't have necessarily the choice of any other form of medicine. I mean, you do, but you really don't. You aren't really educated about it. And then as a child, you're educated, you're sent to school. You're sent to these schools where it's a government system. It's government processed. It's paid for entirely by the government. That's great and all. But what do they teach you? They teach you what is required. Our education system has been going down over the past, I believe it was 50 years, but don't quote me on that one. Our education system has been going down comparative to the world. It's been maintained pretty much. Realistically, why would that be? Why would a government want that to occur? Is it lack of funding? No, not really. They've got the ability to fund it. If you were to take a very small percentage of our military's output, considering we spend more money on our military than the rest of the world combined, if you take a very small percentage, 0.01% of that, and put it towards education, you could bear it, obviously, by a great deal. But no, realistically, we don't. It's not funding. It's that we're easier to control when we're dumb. You can control any person that isn't able to think freely, that isn't able to make their decision based off of logic or anything else. This is the easier way, this is the easier path. Next, what then happens in your next life is you're expected to go to college, expected to spend more money into a system, puts you automatically in debt. Starts you out in debt, keeps you in debt. Then, you're expected to take all that money, you're supposed to go get a house maybe, puts you in even more debt, car and other payments. These put you in debt to companies. And here's the thing, too. You really don't have a choice. That's where you're going to get your car, get your vehicle. You'll have to go through these big dealerships. You gotta go through these big companies. You gotta go through Kroger, Fred Meyer. You gotta go through the oil company. You gotta pay into it. You gotta pay into these banks. You gotta put your money. You gotta build credit. You don't build credit, you can't get a loan for these things. You can't get the things that you need to survive, because guess what? You can't really afford to have it. If you're going to be in debt the rest of your life, you might as well accept it. That's not freedom. That's enslavement. Ancient enslavement was based off of a person being in debt. Truthfully, that's what we become. We go in debt. Now I'm trying my damn hardest not to be in debt in my life. I'm trying my damn hardest not to use credit cards. Those are one of the biggest tools of enslavement. It's like putting the shackles on yourself. You pick up a credit card, you swipe it, you're basically taking it and slapping it on yourself. But here's the thing. Yeah, you can pay it off. You can pay it off almost right away, maybe even. But in many cases, it's delayed to make sure you get some form of interest, to make some money off of you, at least trying to keep you in that data system. Something tragic happens, you're enslaved to the medical field. There are many different ways and there are many different shackles that they're going to bind you to. Here's the thing, you're going to get one. You're probably going to get one in your life. Whether you like it or not, you're going to owe someone something. No, that's not freedom, because you're stuck. You're stuck in your job. You're stuck doing something you may not love, you may not like, and guess what? Even if you don't have that job, if you don't keep that career, and maybe have a decent retirement later, maybe, that could dry up at any time. Considering it's a government-controlled system that controls our whether or not we get a retirement, whether or not we continue to do these things, and also if you base your retirement off of shares, off of holds, you're basing your retirement off of off of other corporate powers. Truthfully, it's a slave system. You're dependent upon everything else. You can't live off things naturally like we used to. There's just no way. There's no physical way of doing it. And that's enslavement. That's the thing, we're all slaves. The only thing you can really do is you can educate yourself and you can protest about it. You can attempt to spread the word, you can attempt to spread knowledge. That's the only thing you have. That's the only option you have to escape. Or even that's just a glim hope. Media won't say anything. They won't go. They'll turn a blind eye. That's controlled as well. Everything's all interlinked. We produce more food than we actually are able to eat, but you know what? They throw away a good part of it. And they don't give it to places that could actually use food or aid. No, they don't. They expect these groups, these service groups like the Red Cross and the Peace Corps to buy from them. So, naturally, being good people, they're going to. But, they throw away the food, they pay the farmers to throw away a good percentage of their crop, depending upon what they want, to help control their stocks. It's a monopoly. It's a slave system. Monopolies create those sort of slave systems. That's why they were outlawed. At one point in time. Not anymore. They're referred to as monopolies now. That's basically what it is. Except here's a sick little thing. It's not monopolies on just banking. It's not monopolies on just steel or anything else. It's monopolies on the whole thing. The whole thing is interlinked. Now it's like royalty. You might as well be a serf in medieval times. That's basically what we are. We work for the system. We work for the upper class. We give away our jobs, our labor, we go with it. And, if they really don't like us, if we get out of hand, they're passing laws that, they can just get rid of us. They can detain us at any time with no cause, no reason whatsoever. No big deal, right? You like living in the system? I don't. I don't like the constant feeling of being in debt. I don't like constant stress. I don't like constantly being unable to be free to do what I want just so someone can live in a house of gold. No, we don't need a house of gold. We don't need to live supremely. You don't need to live one person rich above all else. No. It's not necessary. I don't want to have to struggle to survive every day, every way, every time I look around. I don't like that. I don't. I don't think anyone really does. I don't like being controlled. Many of the laws and things that are passed is simply a way of control, is simply a way of maintaining it. And here's the sad thing. There are many different technologies, many different items and ideas that people put out there that can make our world more sustainable. Green technology, ways of running our vehicle off of pure electricity, besides these battery forms, which are honestly worse for the environment than any form of regular combustion engine. There are ways that magnetism can be used to produce power, almost unlimited amounts. Invented in Tesla a long time ago. See, here's the thing though, is if unlimited power is produced, they lose control. They lose control over us, because then we don't need their resources per se. We don't need their food per se. We don't need their metal. We don't need all these other things. Many of the bridge works in construction honestly could be done with things like hemp rope. Now, I'm not advocating smoking and marijuana. That's your choice. If you want to do it, go for it. But what I will say is the plant has amazing properties, many of which were pointing out several other industries, or at least lowering the amount of stuff that they could produce. Now, even to this day, they could still make a good living, but they wouldn't make the millions that they do. They wouldn't be able to have an excuse to destroy the land like they do. Realistically, here's the sickening thing about it. It's not us that's destroying the earth. It's these corporations. Because if we were to use all the technology, all the resources that human beings and human ingenuity has put out there, the person like you and I, the guy who sits at home, who has chosen to educate themselves, who's chosen to do something about life, we could become non-dependent on things that are non-renewable whatsoever. We could go back to an older way of living. Some of them weren't actually too bad. Some of the things were honestly good and did a lot of good for the people who lived during that. But unfortunately, they would lose control. Or maybe fortunately, because one day we are going to have to go back to that system. But they'll lose control. And then what? Then what happens? Then they aren't in the house of gold anymore. They're down with the rest of us. We are 99%. We are a people who want freedom. That's what all wars are ever fought over. That's why civil wars occur. It's because the people aren't free anymore. They lack that freedom, or something is taken away from them as a people. A government is not built to help corporations. They are built to help the people. That's what our country was founded on, and once upon a time it believed those values. Now, it doesn't. It doesn't follow through with anything that's ever said. Might as well take the Constitution and rip it. Rip it into shreds. Take it out of that glass case that's pretty, smash it on top of it, because who cares? You're going to rip it, then you're going to burn it, and then you're going to piss on it. Because that's honestly what's happened. I know it's a blunt message, and I know it's something that maybe people don't want to hear. Well, that's the way it has happened. Our founding fathers, they'd go crazy if they saw what happened today. What they fought and they died for, and they had their sons and their daughters go out and fight for and create and do all what they wanted to do. But, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. Except spread the word. Spread the word yourself. Don't use just my words. Research yourself. Do your research. That's all I ever ask. Do your research and spread the word. Because here's the thing. If you don't spread the word, if you don't, and you just sit in your shell and you suffer with the rest of us, nothing ever's going to get done. Peace, love, and happiness, guys.